All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Happy Funky Friday, because the market's going to be pretty dang funky today, right? It's just going to be funky. It's a funky day. It's freaky day. It's a phenomenal day. That doesn't even start with an F, but I don't really care. Oh, my goodness. Good morning, everybody. Excited to be back. Cannot wait to see what the market has in store for today. But before we dive into the breakdown and get you guys prepared for today's session, you got to hit me with a big old good morning first, or I can't start. So everybody go ahead and drop a good morning if you're on TikTok, YouTube, Inside of Market Chatter. I don't care where you're at. I just want to see a big old good morning. Then we'll officially dive into it, ladies and gentlemen. Take some time to educate you, help you guys sharpen those trading skills, and get dialed in for the session today. Mr. Tom Egan. What's up, buddy? Jake. Good morning, Jake. And then, do we have any beautiful men and women over on YouTube? I doubt it. I mean, I haven't streamed on YouTube in months. So, like, of course no one's on the tube right now. Like, come on, dude. What are you talking about? But if you are over there, what's up, guys? Good morning. And then you TikTokers as well. Good morning, TikTokers. Hopefully you guys are having a blessed morning. Hopefully you guys are having a really, really good start to your day. All right, so we're going to go ahead and dive into it. But first, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go back to the good old days when I would start our mornings with our devotional. I'm like, why have I not done this in the last month or two? It's like, it's driving me crazy. I had this big moment of clarity last night. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing the little things that I once did that I loved doing, and I enjoyed doing it with you guys. So we're going to do that here over the next couple of minutes. Rael, what's up, buddy? Good morning. And then, so for everybody that is inside of Market Chatter, I posted it in the Wire Room, and then I also posted it in the Trader Mindset Room as well. So I don't know where I'm going to post it in the mornings, but every morning I'm going to get back into getting those little devotionals posted up for you guys, whether I write them out myself, post them, whether I grab them from the sources that I use in the mornings. I think it's just a great way to get your mind right for the day, strengthen your faith with the Lord, and again, just put that front and center in your life, right? So today was the urgency of giving. I was like, wow, God's speaking to me right now because I want to give. I'm a giver. I want to give my time. I want to give the money that I have to other people to help people in need, to help transform lives through giving. But sometimes there could be a lot of resistance to give, especially when I'm like, well, I need to give to my family. I got to take care of my family. I got to take care of my 3 daughters, my wife, set my family up for success. And then sometimes it makes me want to hold back on giving. It makes me selfish. And so this was powerful this morning because it really resonated with things that I've been dealing with lately with giving and just the feeling of abundance. And I want to get back to my roots, and I absolutely just love giving. And so this hit hard this morning, the urgency of giving. And this was the breakdown that I got today from the devotional source that I tap into. So this is what it read today. Have you ever waited to do something you knew was the right thing to do? When Paul wrote his second letter to the Corinthians, the church of Corinth needed correction. In the 9th chapter, Paul focused on a promise the Corinthians had made a year before to help struggling Christians in Jerusalem. Not only had the Corinthians made this promise to collect an offering and send it to Jerusalem, but they were so eager in their pledge, they had inspired other churches to follow them and follow their lead. However, the Corinthians were taking a long time to follow through on their promise. And in the meantime, their brothers and sisters in Jerusalem were still suffering. They were still struggling. And not only that, their eagerness to give had diminished. And they were no longer setting the generous example they had before. So this is what Paul wrote back to them. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly, not under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7. And so when we're reluctant to give, we miss out on the chance to bless others. Disobedience can harden our hearts towards others. We can hold on to what we have because we think we know what's best. And that's what hit me. I've been reluctant to give. I need to take care of my family. I need to set my family up for success. I've been very selfish. It's made me, unfortunately, subconsciously very reluctant to give as much of my time to others, as much as my experience of just helping others for free. With the experience that I've gained over the last 5 years of being in online business, to give financially, to help families in need financially, whatever the case is. But it's very clear when we are reluctant to give, we miss out on the chance to bless others. Disobedience can harden our hearts towards others. And we think we know what's best. Instead, when you give with urgency. That's what Paul says. God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. God's going to bless you so that you can be generous on every occasion, regardless of the circumstances. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. Now what does it say? I can't read. This text is so small. Now, that may not always mean God will enrich you financially, but it does mean that God will always provide you with the means to be generous with your time, your energy, your money. And because God does not wait to provide for us, we should not wait to provide for others. So today was look for opportunities to show your generosity and share the good gifts that God has blessed you with. And don't be so hesitant, so reluctant, so selfish to pay it forward, to share, to give. Even if you can't give financially because you're in a financial position yourself, there's something that you can give. You can give your time. You can give your skills. You can give to help somebody, to bless somebody. And at the end of the day, God will come through and God will bless you abundantly. So you still have more of that time, the financial resources, those skills, where you can go out there and continue those good works and continue to bless those around you and transform and impact other lives positively. So that was the breakdown, the devotional for today from Corinthians. Very powerful. Really stuck with me. This is something that I've been, I wouldn't say dealing with, struggling with, but definitely something that's been some resistance, lately for me. And that was powerful. It was like God just spoke right to me this morning. Wanted to share that with you guys, and it was a very powerful breakdown. Man, does it feel good getting back to the roots, baby. I love it. Does that feel good? Woo! Starting strong, putting God front and center in all things we do, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it's all about. Let's go ahead and talk about the market now. You guys have been waiting for a whopping 10 minutes, so I appreciate you guys waiting for a whopping 10 minutes to actually dive into stocks today, okay? But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's talk about what we have going on for the day, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to go right to the SPY, and we are going to pop over into a weekly time frame. And we're going to do some quick weekly analysis and see if we have anything that just clearly stands out. And we do. We have this weekly demand zone here on these SPYs. Let's go ahead and mark up this weekly demand. We do have a drop base rally formation, and there was a nice impulse to the upside. So let's go ahead and mark up that weekly demand. And we already know we don't have any supply at all-time highs, but there is a bit of this supply candle here on the weekly. It's not quite sitting at all-time highs. So we're going to go ahead and mark this supply candle up. It could be a little bit more difficult to see this one compared to demand. Demand's clear as day. Drop-based rally, small candle body, clear impulsive move to the upside. That was the big gap. So that's a clear, easy demand zone that just slaps you in the face. This little supply zone's not as easy to gauge as that demand zone. So I get it. But you have the drop. You had that week of kind of sideways battle. There was your base, and then there's your nice impulsive move to the downside. So we're going to go ahead and mark up that weekly supply, and then we're going to be able to drill that down into any kind of daily supply that we may have in that region. But you already see prices come back into that weekly supply, hit those unfilled orders, and it's popped out. So it's being respected. It's still valid. We're going to definitely have that plotted up on the charts for today. All right, so that's all of the weekly. Now, that's not all of the weekly analysis. I've lied to you. We got a weekly gap we're going to go ahead and mark up as well. And we're going to go weekly gap from body to body here on the weekly gap. And I like to shade my gaps in with like a thicker blue line at the bottom and a thicker blue line at the top, just so I know when I get into my lower time frames that this is a gap and it's not some like bigger zone of support resistance. All right, so let's go ahead and go mark up the weekly gap on the SPY. We got weekly demand, weekly supply. We are done with that weekly analysis. Now we're going to go right into this daily time frame here. And I'm going to start by looking at some daily supply that could be inside of the weekly supply. So that's the goal here. And I see that we have that weekly supply candle on the SPY that's inside the weekly. So daily supply inside the weekly. But here's the thing about this daily supply is price has already come back, hit about 50-60% of that supply zone and then impulsed out. So the way I see it is if there were, and there was, a lot of unfilled orders, price coming back up into this zone, right, has filled a majority of those unfilled orders before the big impulse out. So I really only care about looking at the supply zone where price has yet to revisit. And that's where I'm very convicted. That's where we're still going to have some of those unfilled orders left over. A majority of those unfilled orders. So I'm going to go ahead and readjust my supply zone for that region. That gives us daily inside a weekly right above. We got some zones on tops of zones. We even had this little supply zone on the daily right here. And price came up into it yesterday. We hit some of those unfilled orders, and we saw the impulse to the downside. We saw the drop out. So we still got, a little bit of that daily supply left over. And again, all I care about is the area of supply where price has yet to go, which is going to be above yesterday's high up into the top of that original supply zone. So I'm going to readjust my daily supply for that reason, and we are good to go on that. Now let's look at price, and let's go to the downside to the left and see if we have any nearby areas of demand. Right? So price, look left, go down, look left, go down. Yeah, I got that nice little drop base rally. It was okay. We didn't break the oppositional leg. It's a decent little zone. Probably looks better on a lower time frame. We'll see. But then we got this demand zone sitting down here, right? So we got a couple. We got this drop base rally, but then we have this little rally base. Nice impulse move to the upside. So we're going to go ahead and throw up our demand zone down here on the SPY. Right, if we look at these candles, we have the rally on up, we base, but then we gap up. So we have this little bit of this gap up, drop, base, rally. I'm going to look at this daily as my two basing candles. We have the impulse. We set sideways for a couple of days. Then we pop to the upside. So I'm going to utilize both of those candles as my basing candles on the daily. That lines up with the bottom of the weekly gap, the top of some of that weekly demand. So already starting to build some confluence to get long, down around this 564 here on the SPY. But we're not done yet. Okay, we found all of our weekly, daily supply and demand zones. Now we got to go find our key zones of support resistance for today. So first area that stands out to me is going to be this region back here. Let's go ahead and get that zone plotted up. All right, so we got a daily zone of support resistance between the prices of, you guys ready? 584.47 to 585.38. That is a very significant daily zone of support resistance here. So we're going to go ahead and mark that on up. Is there any other key high probability zone? There is. It's going to be right here between the price of, you guys ready? 588.96 to 589.63. That is another very strong high probability zone of daily support resistance. Now, I'm looking in between all of my zones to see if there's another key area that stands out to me. So I'm looking at supply. I'm looking left, coming on down, looking left, coming on down. I don't see anything in between those two zones. I'm looking at that zone of support resistance, coming on down. I don't see anything else in between those two zones. So I'm wrapping things up on the daily. I've got my weekly, daily supply, demand. We got our gaps, and we got our best of the best levels of support and resistance as well. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up the larger time frames. Now we're going to go ahead and flip this down into some of our lower time frames, such as the 4-hour. And we're doing the same thing on a 4-hour. We're looking for lower time frame zones of supply and demand on a 4-hour. So same process. Look at price. Look up to the left for supply. Do we have any valid nearby supply that's visual on a 4-hour? We do not. Let's do the same thing for demand. Look at price. Look left to the downside. Where is our closest area of demand? Well, I mean, we have this little rally, base, rally. So we do see that nice impulsive move to the upside. That was the gap up. There is a little basing candle sitting right there on the SPY's 4-hour time frame. So let's go ahead and mark up that demand zone here on the SPY. And we're going to continue this process. Come down to the left, down to the left, down to the left. Where is our next area of 4-hour demand? Well, we're going to see we got a couple regions down here. But where's our closest nearby area of demand? It's sitting right here off that little 4-hour basing candle. There's your little drop base. There's the gap up. And that lines up with the bottom of the weekly gap as well. So we already have a really high probability trade just staring at us in the face. And that trade is going to take place down around 564.34. So if we ever see the SPY get down to 564.34, that's going to be an A+ area to get long here on the SPY. That's a weekly gap fill bounce. It's tapping the top end of weekly demand. We got some daily demand, 4-hour demand, all sitting down around 564.34. So if we ever see SPY get there, say next week, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I will be absolutely playing some calls off that level. So we're pretty much wrapped up on a 4-hour time frame here on the SPY. Let's flip this down into a 1-hour. And we're doing the same thing. Looking at price up to the left. Do we have any valid supply on a 1-hour time frame? I mean, yeah, you got some supply candles from that drop yesterday, but you already have some of the daily, weekly supply overhead. So that's going to trump any kind of lower time frame. Do we have any demand? We did have some demand right here, but we already see prices come back and hit this morning. So I am going to do what I always do. I'm going to readjust my demand zone and drag it to where price has yet to go. And this is where price has yet to go. So what do we notice about this demand zone? It's sitting right on top of our daily zone of support. So do we think that's going to be a great area to look to play calls today? Absolutely. We got some lower time frame demand where we expect there to be some unfilled orders left over, right? And we already have a psychological area of support where we could expect to see more buying activity than selling. And if that's the case, we could see price move to the upside off that level. So that's going to be a great A+ area to look to get long today, down around 585 here on the SPY. And we're pretty much done on a 1-hour. Let's go wrap this up and finish this up here on a 30-minute time frame. There's your 30-minute demand. We're bringing down that zone underneath this low. So the 30-minute demand zone would be exactly the same as the 1-hour. So we don't need to draw that up. And we got a couple different supply zones on the 30-minute from yesterday. But like I said, those daily, weekly zones are going to trump those lower time frame zones anyway. So I'm good with what I've got. So that's what we have on the SPY. Let's go ahead and build a couple plans, ladies and gentlemen. So plan number 1 on the SPY is getting long down around 585. Putting stops, you're going to risk a little bit on this trade. I mean, your risk is about 85 cents. But we would have potential back up to that zone of resistance around 589. So if we're looking to go zone to zone today, we know a 585 entry is a great entry. It's a daily zone of support. It's some demand sitting at 585 as well. We can take entries at 585, put stops at 584.20, and that's a good place for the stop loss. And then, boom, just trade it from zone to zone or simply scale out as it's pushing into that zone. So that's going to be game plan number 1 for the long entries down around 585. Game plan number 2, we have this 589 zone of resistance. That's going to be our make or break for today. That's the lits for today's session. So it's easy when trading off a lits. If price comes back up to that lits and we have good price action that says, hey, there's way more sellers than buyers, then we just simply take puts. It's that simple. If price comes back up into that zone and we break through it with some strength and we stay above it and have good price action from buyers that say, hey, well, price can definitely move to the upside. We have the imbalance. We have clearly more buyers than sellers. We'll simply look to play calls up into our next key zone. Again, it's that simple. Just got to wait and see what price action shows us off that zone. And depending on what price action shows us, that will start to help us validate a trade to see what side of the trade should we get in on. And so that's going to be the next plan on the SPY, guys. Right? But these are the best of the best, most significant levels to trade off of. Right? So if price gets to one of these areas, there's already a 70 to 80% chance a move takes place off one of these zones. You're already in a really good high probability trade, just looking to trade off these zones accordingly if price gets there today. So SPY wrapped up. We are good to go. Let's go ahead and flip this on over to the Qs, and let's do the same thing we did on the Qs to get prepared here as well. We're going to go start with a weekly time frame on the QDQs, and we're looking for some supply and demand. So we got that big old demand zone here on the Qs, right? Got that nice little rally, base, rally. So again, some weekly demand. Would you look at that? We got a really nice weekly gap as well. So let's go ahead and mark up that weekly gap here on QQQ. And that's a pretty big old weekly gap, ain't it? So marking up the weekly gap on QQQ. I'm going to shade the top of my weekly gap with a big old thick blue line and a big old thick blue line at the bottom. So that shades that in as a gap, right? The way that I trade gaps are different than the ways that I trade off supply, demand, support, resistance. So I want to know that's a gap, because if price gets to this gap level today, there's about 8 different ways that I can trade inside of a gap that are very profitable. So we got the weekly gap. We got the daily demand. There is no weekly, my bad. Weekly gap, weekly demand. There's no weekly supply. We're done on the weekly. Took like what? A minute to look at the weekly? We're good. Going to the daily time frame, all right? We're looking for daily support resistance, daily supply demand, daily gaps, or even just daily confluence. I mean, shit, there could be a daily uptrend. There could be a daily fib. You don't know. Just pick it apart and paint the picture. So what's one thing that I notice here on the Qs? Well, we got a big daily gap, do we not? Yeah. From Friday into Monday, there was a gap up. So let's go ahead and mark up said daily gap. All right. So from body to body on the gap, and then we go wick to wick. So there's our body to body daily gap, right? And then right below the daily gap, we have the weekly gap. Is there anything in between daily and weekly gap that I should be mindful of? There's probably some demand. We can clearly see there is a drop base rally. So you can mark up that entire candle on the daily, but we're going to have something on a 4-hour, something on a 1-hour that stands out to us. That's going to be a much tighter zone to trade inside of anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip into my lower time frames. But I know there's going to be demand down there. That's cool. Easy peasy. Got the daily gap. We got the weekly gap. We know we're going to have some demand sitting right in between those 2 points. I can clearly see where our nearest level of significant resistance is. It's this zone that we've been topping out at for the past 2 weeks, between 521.76 to 522.52. I mean, we come up, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it. We get rejected Yesterday, we gap above it. We come right back down below it. I like this type of setup on the Qs. I mean, I dig it. We have a very key zone of resistance. Price gaps above it, but does not retest it as support for the push higher. We come back down below it instantaneously. That's one big false breakout through that zone. Price is above it. Price gets slammed back below it. When we see price get slammed back below a key zone like this, and we come back up and retest it, most of the time we will retest and stay below it as resistance and see another big leg down. I like this setup on the Qs a lot. So this is a very key zone on the Qs, guys. Very key zone. 521.76 to 522.52. If we see price get there today, tomorrow, next week, and we start to top out at that zone, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm definitely taking puts off that zone, expecting to see some more downside here on the Qs. That's a key level there, so we're good to go. Any other key level? I mean, dude, this price action back in like December, January, dude, was just brutal. I mean, the market was just freaking brutal. I mean, there's not a lot of key zones in this region. I mean, there's one more. I mean, there is one more that stands out to me. But it's tough getting up in all that chop and actually finding those key zones. So it takes a trained eye. Someone that's been doing this for 10 years. You know, I can see this shit pretty clearly. But as a newer trader, you're like, how did you do that so quick? It just screen time, repetition. So we're going to have another pretty key zone here on the Qs between 519.21 to 519.64. So I feel pretty good on the daily. I don't think there's anything else on the daily that we can do. We got all of our key supply demand, support resistance. We got our gaps. We're good to go on the daily. We're going to flip this bad boy down into now a 4-hour freaking time frame. And we're looking for 4-hour supply demand. So current price, look up to the left, any supply. That's a negative Ghost Rider. How about demand? Yeah, there's that demand candle sitting right there at the bottom of the daily gap. So we got demand sitting down there. Woohoo! We knew it. How'd you know, Josh? So yeah, there's your demand zone in between the weekly and in between the daily gap. Any other demand here? Nope, no supply. Done on the 4-hour. Let's flip this bad boy down into a 1-hour time frame. There's your 1-hour demand from Tuesday. All right, so we can see that big old 1-hour demand zone from Tuesday. There's your drop, base, rally. But here's the thing. Price has already come down and hit some of that 1-hour demand. So what is Josh going to do? He's going to drag that zone down and only look at the part of the demand zone where price has yet to revisit. This is the highest probability area to take a long, expecting there still to be some unfilled orders that would cause the price reaction to the upside. So I'm going to drag my zone down and only look at the area where price has yet to revisit, right? That's what we got on a 1-hour. Oh, yo, check this out. This is sexy. This is sexy. I like this. You know, we have that key daily zone between 521.76 to 522.52. I said that's such a key zone that if price gets back up to retest it, I want to take puts. Well, check this out. On the 1-hour time frame, you got some 1-hour supply sitting right there as well. So we already have a confluence. We got 1-hour supply sitting right at that daily zone. Count me into a freaking short. I like it a lot. I like that. So 1-hour supply overhead. We got the 1-hour demand. What's remaining? So we're good to go on a 1-hour. Let's go into a 30-minute. Oh, look at that. You got 30-minute supply sitting right there on the Qs as well. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm very, very convicted and very, very confident that if price gets back up into that daily zone of key resistance, as well as some of this multiple time frame supply, that there is an 80% chance price will hit this level and fall just based on odds and probabilities, right? So it's like, hey, there's an 80% chance that if price gets back to like 522 and we can't break 522, price is going to fall, and I can take puts and make money when price falls. Trading's that simple. I just got to wait to see if price gets back to 522. I just got to wait. But yeah, I like this area a lot. There's a very, very high probability chance that we get a good trade to set up off that 522 level. But we got a lot of work to do, man, because we're at 518 right now. All right, so we're good to go on the 1 hour. We drilled down to a 30-minute. I'm probably not going to do any 15-minute analysis. No reason. We're good to go on the Qs. We're dialed in on the Qs. All right, so here are the 3 different trade ideas for today. I got to give you guys the trade ideas now, right? Where I'm looking to put my money where my mouth is. That's the trade idea. That's the game plan on a silver platter. You're welcome. All right, let's dive into it. So we got that line. That's not a line in the sand. What did I do? Why did I change it? That's not a line in the sand. It's not even demand. Click the right button. There you go. You got this zone at 519.21 to 519.64. That's a make or break. If price comes up to that level, we top out. We have great price action. We can't break above it. We're looking to get short off that 519 zone. Play puts down around 515. We ever see the Qs come down to 515 and we hit that demand zone and we see a pop, I'm going to look to get long down around 515 off some of that demand. All right. If price breaks that 519 zone and we stay above it as support today, we're going to get long to 522. And if we see price get up to 522 today, you already know that's where I'm getting short for sure. Because that's where we have that key daily zone and some of that overlapping supply as well. That's up around 522. So those are the different types of plans for today, right? And why do we build plans on the long side and why do we build plans on the short side? We don't know what the market's going to do, right? I don't come in and set a bias like market's going long today, and then Trump comes out and sends a tweet and the market dumps all day, or vice versa. So I don't set bias. I don't care what the market does. Does the market want to move up 10 points? Or does the market want to drop 10 points? I don't care. I just want to be on that side of the trade. So I'm looking at both sides of the market. I'm looking at the longs. I'm looking at the shorts. I'm building plans for both the longs and the shorts, the calls and the puts. And now I just got to wait to see what the market's going to do when it opens. If the market wants to set up short, cool. I got my plan to the short side. Easy peasy. I'm ready to rock. If the market wants to set up long, cool. I don't care. I'll take the long. I'm set. I'm ready to rock and roll. So tip of the day, ladies and gentlemen, your tip of the day. Stop setting a bias. If you set a market bias for the day, stop it. Stop it. It's probably doing you more harm than good. Just come in, be neutral, be a bull, be a bear, and just fucking trade the market with what the market's giving you at that time. And quit setting a bias. It hurts. All right, cool. That's the SPY and the Q. So now, ladies and gentlemen, guess what we get to do for the next 20 minutes? We get to look at your top stocks for the day and do some review with your guys. With you guys. Whatever. I can't talk today. It's Friday. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and type up your top stocks. We will review them before market open, get you guys prepared. Everybody inside the mentorship, obviously you guys come first. Right? If I don't see anything come in, but I got someone in YouTube or TikTok that has a stock, I will review that for them until I see someone post a stock they want reviewed, and then I'll prioritize you guys as always. SPY's where it's at, man. SPY and Qs look sexy. Brother, man, look at some Ondo. I'm looking for an entry. Yeah, we'll go look at that here in a moment. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything else first, man. ONDO. I'm not a big small cap guy. I don't do small caps. I trade large caps. Look at ONDO. I'll go take a peek at ONDO. Small cap, 24 bucks, ONDO. And you said, what? You're looking for an entry below 90 cents? Well, I'm looking at a stock called ONDO, and it shows that this stock is $22. Am I looking at the wrong stock? I am looking at London Stock Exchange, ONDO. What are you looking at? Is this crypto? Yeah, I think it's crypto. Yeah, it's crypto. All right. Yeah. With crypto, man, ONDO is not something that I buy. The only crypto that I do is I invest in crypto, man. I invest in crypto. I don't do any active trading on it, but that doesn't mean I won't analyze the crap out of it. I'm going to go to a monthly time frame because like with crypto, all I would do is do swing trades anyway. So I'm going to go into a monthly time frame. I'm looking for monthly supply demand. Look at that monthly demand candle. Rally, base, rally, monthly demand. But price has already come back into that monthly demand. Almost like 70% of it, and it just popped out. So in hindsight, that would have been the best area to look to get in inside of some of that monthly demand. Monthly demand, that's significant. We already come in, hit some of those unfilled orders. We popped out. Doesn't mean we can't come down for a secondary hit, but we got to understand we've already come down, hit those unfilled orders. We popped out. Weekly supply demand. Here is your weekly demand right here on ONDO. There's your drop base rally to the upside. So we'll go in here and mark up that weekly demand zone. Price came in, hit some of those unfilled orders, popped out. Would you have any weekly demand down here? Yes, you would. You had that drop base rally, broke the oppositional leg in. Price comes back down, hits a couple of those unfilled orders, and then pops to the outside. That impulsive move was obviously 10 times stronger than this impulsive move, so I'm still led to believe there's going to be some unfilled orders left over off this zone, even though that was a little bit of a hit off that previous demand zone. So we got our we got our monthly, weekly demand. There's weekly supply right there on ONDO. There's weekly supply. You see how price just came up. It tapped the very bottom of weekly supply, and then we are starting to see the next impulse to the downside. Right? So weekly supply, check. We got weekly demand on top of monthly demand. Do we have any other demand zones? We do right here on ONDO. Right? We can see we had this rally base rally. The impulse was 2 times greater than the size of the zone. The body's less than 50%, so we meet some of that criteria there. Little time spent. We didn't break the oppositional leg. I mean, we did if you look at the candle bodies. We broke the oppositional leg. So that's a decent little weekly demand zone. Price has already hit it once, right? So this is working on the secondary hit of this weekly demand zone. And then let's go ahead and finish this off on a daily and see where the best entry could be here on ONDO. So there's your daily demand right there. There's your drop base rally. Again, price already came down and hit some of those unfilled orders, popped out. Stocks coming down, or crypto's coming down again, looking to hit some of those unfilled orders, maybe pop out. Again, here's what I like to do with my supply and demand zones, is I want to only look at the remaining part of that demand zone, right? The part of demand where price has yet to revisit. Because I know that price hasn't revisited this area of demand yet, so if there's still orders in the system, that's where they're at, right? So it's easier to just wait for that zone to get hit. So I actually see a good potential long entry down around like 82 cents on ONDO, because that's where we have the rest of that daily demand and the rest of that weekly demand as well. So you see how we have this really small, teeny weeny area on the chart? That's where your daily stacks on top of the weekly. And that's a high probability area where you could expect to have some of those unfilled orders left, to where if price gets down there, we can see a nice reaction to the upside. If we fall below that weekly, daily demand, though, I would want to get out. I'd want to get out and wait to see if we come down towards around 65 to 70 cents, because that would be the next area that I would expect to see O and DO get to would be like 65, 70. But if we can stay above 82, I think that's a great area to look for a quick little swing trade on O and DO as we're coming back down into some of that daily and weekly demand as well. Cool? This is the first TikToker that I've seen that knows how to trade. Cody, I appreciate it, man. I've only been doing this for 10 years, guys. Like 10 years. I've been coaching traders for 5 years. Most traders don't even have 5 years of experience. They're like 2-3 years in, and they coach. I'm like, bro, I've been coaching longer than you've been trading. So yeah, dude, it's just a lot of screen time, a lot of experience. You do something all day, every day for nearly 10 years, you become really freaking good at it. So I got the experience, man. I've made the mistakes. I know how to get it done. And I like showing up with you guys, helping you guys get it done as well. Because at the end of the day, man, trading can be really simple. It doesn't have to be hard. It can be really fucking simple. I learned that the hard way. Like, trading can be simple. You don't have to overcomplicate it. So, Value Gary, I got you, man. Much love, man. Absolutely. Paxton looking at Carvana, CVNA. Let's go look at Carvana. You said short. Paxton, I got to get you involved, homie. I have to get you involved. Why would you want to get short on CVNA? Just give me a quick breakdown, man. Like, I want to get short for these reasons. I always like to get an idea of why y'all would want to get short. Here's the deal. There's no supply at all-time highs. That's the rule of thumb. So if we said, hey, there's a rally-based drop, yeah, but there's no supply at all-time highs. That's the rule of thumb. So we want to tread lightly with any kind of supply zone that's near all-time highs. I mean, look at this supply zone on the monthly, near all-time highs. Price just blasts right through it. Rule of thumb, no supply at all-time highs. That supply zone's definitely at all-time highs. So we know that that's going to be an even lower probability zone here on Carvana. But that's all I see on a monthly. We're just squeezing into all-time highs on CVNA. It's been ripping this year in 7 straight green weeks. Hey, man, I used to think that, like, yo, it's been ripping for 7 straight weeks to the upside. It's got to come back down. It's got to pull back. No. The stock can keep going and going and going and going. It doesn't have to pull back. It doesn't have to retrace. Momentum will carry a stock to the upside if you have enough people behind it. It's like a freight train. Once you get that thing going, it's hard to stop it. It's hard to slow it down. It's the same thing with stocks to the upside, to the downside. When it's moving like a freight train and it is ripping or it is dumping, sometimes it is hard to slow that thing down. So just because it's up 7 weeks, not enough to want to get short, all right? Not enough, because I've made that decision of let me get short. It's got to pull back, and I just get completely smoked. But if there's a technical reason to get short, let's get short. All right. So we're on a weekly time frame now. We know where price is at. We're looking up to the left for weekly supply, and we do have a weekly supply zone that actually isn't sitting right at the all-time highs, which is actually pretty nice. So it's near all-time highs, but it's not at all-time highs. So you see this nice little drop, base, impulse, move to the downside. There's going to be that weekly supply here on Carvana. Let's go finish this off on a daily time frame and see, do we have any daily supply on Carvana? Drop, base, drop. Price comes back up, hits some of those unfilled orders, and pops out. This originally was your supply zone. Drop, base, drop. Price comes back up, hits those unfilled orders, impulses again to the downside. So we already have a couple hits off that supply zone right there. So you got to be mindful that that zone has already got a couple hits, right? Not to say it can't hit again, because that daily zone's inside the weekly. That weekly zone is inside the monthly. Does it have a hit? It's got a hit, right? But it doesn't mean you can't trade that zone. So where would I even want to get short on Carvana? Well, it'd have to be between 337.40 to 341.97 because that's my daily supply zone inside my weekly, inside my monthly. That is the highest probability area to take this trade. Sure, but I would have to wait for a drop out of the zone. I'd have to wait for a drop out of the zone because a lot of the supply is near all-time highs. So what do I mean? Normally, I would just get short the second price enters the zone. I would just get short, right? But since it's at all-time highs, the probabilities are a little bit lower. I need to wait for confirmation. What's confirmation going to be? Let price get there and let price start to fall and actually see price falling out of that supply. And once you see that, that's confirmation and validation to take the entry once you see price falling out of that zone. But that's the best area that I would even consider a short here on Carvana, good sir. All right. But again, remember, it's like a freight train, man. Choo-choo. When a stock is just freaking ripping like this, it is very hard to slow that freight train down. This thing could just blast through all of these top zones of resistance and supply and just keep ripping to the upside, man. So be smart, manage your risk, protect the capital. You see the opportunity, take it, but make sure you got a dialed-in plan on something like this and protect the capital at the same time. Did I ever trade at a firm? I did not trade at a firm. You would think I have, though. You would think. None of that fair value gap garbage. I mean, don't get me wrong. Fair value gaps are cool. I use them as confluences intraday for trades, but I don't base my trades on fair value gaps. Like a lot of these traders that you see, ICT, SMC, that's all they do is base a trade on liquidity sweeps and fair value gaps. That's it. I'm not crazy about just taking trades on one or two reasons. Like I need to have as many reasons as possible. So if I have like a fair value gap that lines up with a demand zone, okay, cool. It's a great confluence. I already have great demand with a fair value gap as confluence. It just increases the odds that the trade's going to work out in my favor. But just trading fair value gaps standalone, like I can't get into it, man. Are you going to buy the Best Buy dip due to the tariffs? I haven't even looked at Best Buy in a while, man. I've been buying my investments for the past couple of months, though. So as we were dumping to the downside and people were freaking out, I was buying. So, what do we got? Costco? That's the last one, ladies and gentlemen. I can definitely take a peek at Costco. Now, you looking at a day trade or a swing trade on Costco? Just here looking. Day trade or swing trade, boss. Let's get those likes up too, guys. We got 400 likes. Come on now. We can do much better than that. Day trade. All right, so if you're looking at a day trade, let's go right into some of our lower time frames, right? So we're going to go weekly. Look at that weekly supply here on Costco. Price comes up, hit some of those unfilled orders. Price is popping back out of some of this weekly supply. So we have weekly supply sitting there. And any kind of demand is going to be way down below. So if you're looking at a day trade, we're done on the weekly. But we have that weekly supply. Look at that daily supply zone we have up here. Drop, base, drop. Price comes up. Hits those unfilled orders. Drops on back out. Again, supply near all-time highs, but you got some overlapping supply. There's your daily supply, but price already mitigated that zone, which I'm not crazy about because price did mitigate that entire zone. Impulsed out, rally base. There's your next big impulse. You'll probably have more demand on this little rally base drop on a lower time frame. So that might be something to take a peek at. We'll get into the 4 hour here in a sec. We're curling on the daily. Doesn't look great, but there's some daily demand sitting down here on Costco. So you got some daily demand sitting down here around like 990 to 999. So that's a pretty big demand zone, but that's some demand you have here. Nice impulse into all of that higher time frame supply. Price pops out of supply. Now we're starting to curl. I think you have a short-term short on Costco. I would think you have a short-term short into some of this demand. And so what I would say on Costco is if we get below 1,007 to 1,008, that's easy. 1,007 to 1,008. We get below this zone, hold below this zone as resistance. I would say short, but the short's not crazy. It's like a 10-point short. So from like 1,008 down to maybe like 998. So like, what are you going to get? Like $10 out of this realistically? So that's what you got here on Costco. Let's go into a 4-hour time frame. Oh, you're already hitting that demand zone. It already set up, man. Look at that. It already set up. You see how we just got below that 1,008 level in pre-market? We came up and hit that 1,008 level in pre-market, and we dropped right down to 998. That trade's done. So it was a good trade. It's already set up in pre-market, so there's not a lot you can do. All right, but at least you saw the zones respected. It's no coincidence that these levels and zones aren't respected. We get below 1,008. We hold below 1,008. We dump down to 998. Come on now. All right, cool. So could we still have a long trade on Costco? Yeah, we could, down into some of this demand. If we get deeper into some of this demand down here, I would say there's a long still, an actionable long, if we get deeper into some of this daily 4-hour demand that we have on Costco. So here's how I would put it, man. This is how I would build a plan on Costco. It would have to look something like this for a day trade. I'm looking for entries at like 992. I would put stops at 998, and I would target that 1,008 level. Well, 1,007. So I would say entries at 992, target at 1,007, stops at 998. That's a 4-to-1 risk reward. So if you risk $200, you've got potential to make $800 on the trade. And that's going to be a decent trade, man. It's not like an A+. I put my name behind it. That's the best trade I've ever seen, but it's good because you do have some of your daily and some of your 4-hour demand that overlaps. And you see how that overlap is nice and tight? If price comes into the overlap, I would expect to see a reaction to the upside. Just like you saw here, price came down to the top of daily demand. What are you seeing? A reaction to the upside. Wow, who would have thought? You expect the same kind of reaction here. So if price gets here, expect the same kind of reaction to the upside off some of that overlapping demand. All right? And that's how we're going to finish this up today, guys. You guys hopefully had a good session with me because I had a good session with you. But stay blessed, ladies and gentlemen. Trade smart. Trade safe. Crush it. All right, have a blessed weekend. If you guys have any questions about trading, you want some help, you can send me a DM anytime over on TikTok. If you guys want a free training on supply and demand or free training on support resistance zoning, I have like 10 different trainings that are awesome that I just give you guys away for free. So if you want one, send me a DM. Say, yo, I want a training on supply and demand concepts. I'll hook you guys up. It'll help you guys out tremendously. And hopefully I can be there to give. Help you guys out, support you guys, and make it happen. But stay blessed. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch you guys back here on the TikTok Live next week at 8:30 for the breakdown session, baby. I'll see you guys then.